YouTube. Hey, let's go ahead and hit start all. So now I am on Twitch and Kick. Alright, so it's I want to say Wednesday. Yeah, it's a Wednesday. Still waking up, clearly. Put this light on. Yeah, you slept up there last night, Riz? Okay. Alrighty. So, another day and another outline to write. So, I've got my book outline already up. Talk about the cast, characters, Garrett, Arista. Everybody has their own arc. I have clarifications, notes for each of the characters as I'm writing. I have barely referred to this, but I have them pretty well set in my mind. It's not like I have had to stop while I'm writing. And yeah, maybe I should be referring to this. Now, the main issue that I've had in writing this book is, I outlined everything, but it doesn't stay small. I think chapter 1 managed to stay as a chapter 1. My goal was 17 chapters, 3,000 words each, one short book chapter of 1,000 words for the next book in the series. And it has expanded well past that. I'm not as adamant about the 3,000 words each. I'm actually going back to doing more 2,000 words. I think I got one that's even closer to like 15,000 words. Because they don't need to be huge. I'm starting to see the benefit in keeping chapters kind of short enough that people can be like, oh, I gotta read what's next. Instead of demanding this huge investment from them all the time. Like you wanna have something that kind of has manageable pockets of time for the chapter investment, and at the same time hooks them enough to where they want to read the next one and figure out what's going to happen next in the story. Chapter 4. So I am still on chapter 5. And, well, sort of. Okay, so I wrote the first half of chapter 5, and then there was an emergent chapter that felt like it popped up and needed to be written. And I just finished that. So that's my third emergent chapter out of, like I said, 5 that I've done so far out of the 17 planned. So once I get done with this, I still have 12 more to go. I'm trying to get to that 1/3 point of my outline, which, since there's 18 chapters total when you include the hook at the end, would be chapter 6. This next chapter, I don't assume that it's going to be a major time suck or a major investment to require any sort of like soul searching in order to create it, but I have been fooled before by myself. So, start by taking this, and this has been split. I've actually been adjusting my outline as I've been going, so I can actually track where things are, because the first round of editing is going to be figuring out chapter breaks more than anything else, and trying to get the layout set up, and renaming chapters so that they can be organized better in my file for this. So yeah, so let's create a new blank document. Boom. This is going to be for my outline. Go ahead and name that now. And I got to be specific. Drowning, Book 2, Chapter 5.5, outline. Is there no paste option? Okay. Control C. Control V. Boom. So, what's going to happen in this chapter? Jocelyn starts to show signs of a curse or some kind of magical malady, thinking a rash or hives that cause her to scratch incessantly and her skin to blister like a sunburn without the sun. So what I have planned for Arista's curses, when she weaves magic against people, it's like they're being affected by the ocean themselves or the beach, or it's got to feel like they've somehow entered into the ocean, basically. Constantly feeling like she has sand in her clothes, Elaine lavishes attention on her grandfather while talking up her brother to him, while also speaking for Gregarious too. Paravel examines the king and goes over his findings from earlier samples taken. So that's the whole chapter. It's not a lot. Sounds like I have 3 characters that are really doing something, including Gregarious too being there. One issue that I have is everything has to be done from Garrett's point of view. And I just realized, like, I don't have Garrett solve the mystery. Like, I have everything just sort of fall out and become exposed, but no one is actually, like, sleuthing. Like, Garth is. But Garth is pretty inept. So, I don't know. I suddenly just had this realization. I'm trying to get Twitch aligned on my screen. No! Not the whole screen. Greedy Twitch. Just kind of realized, like, that's a little snafu. Like, someone should solve the mystery, someone that we deem as, like, our hero or protagonist or lead. So, it could be Arista herself. Actually, that could work because I want Arista to always seem like she's the villain. So if she starts throwing around accusations, that could, in hindsight, I want people to think, like, was it her? Did she do it? Without ever being directly implicating her as any kind of villain. So the conversation that I have going, the chat that I have going to help me write this with ChatGPT. Go ahead and pop this up and show it. Let me hide this. Some people have suggested I not show my sidebar because I need to discuss so much personal stuff. All of this, as I'm scrolling up, is just, and this is not working on the whole book, but this is, like, I started this with, I'm at a point in my current novel where I'm getting discouraged and worried I've lost the plot and it's meandering without maintaining rising tension. I would like to paste all my chapters in so far so you can let me know critically how things are going. I'll start with the outline and follow that with consecutive chapters. I do not need you to write for me, just check for the plot holes and arcs at this point, okay? Yes, that's completely okay. It's a very solid instinct to pause here rather than pushing forward while uncertain. And I'll probably get to that point again if you have another morning where I just go through and check all my chapters. But yeah, and then I went through and I put in every single chapter and I had it check for, like, issues and errors and flaws. The structural problem is compression, not direction. The danger now is over-compression. You have packed what are functionally 4 major plot beats into one continuous sequence. The song scene, this is where the axis tilts correctly, the singing is no longer indulgent, it becomes dangerous, the slap is perfect, structurally and morally, or is to speech, thematic bullseye, structural overextension. It's where I need to be blunt, the speech is thematically razor sharp, but is almost too complete for this moment. And that was a big issue that I had at the beginning of the story, as it keeps saying, like, this feels more like a victory lap, or things that should come later in the book, and I have to point out this is the second book, so what we're seeing is the victory lap sense is the victory over everything that happened in the last book to get them where they're at. I feel like I just created another immersion chapter, which you already mentioned, the fallout confrontation between Arissa and Garrett in private. And that's the one that I just wrote. Are you serious? And that's, wow. Oh, wow. And so that was a lot of deliberation. A lot of deliberation with it just to figure out how this chapter was going to go. And again, I did not have it right for me, but it was a lot of back and forth trying to figure things out. And I didn't stream it because it felt like I was getting into my own personal stuff, which unfortunately happens a lot. So it just wasn't something that I could like really feel like streaming. I had to focus on me and my own brain and trying to argue with it without resolving anything. And that is a challenge. All right. So I'm going to take a quick nap break because, like I said, I just woke up and that coffee is working. Oh, the coffee is good. Hey, Miss Shadow 69. It's morning. Coffee's doing its job. All right. Meow. Come here. Oh, come here. Come here. I know. All right. Jocelyn starts to show. Okay. Yeah. Easy. Yeah, I figured. Another late night of animation. Alright. Meow. Alright. Okay. Here we go. Hey, Lou. Hello, Lou. So, I've got my pre-notes set up from what I did when I did my book outline. And this is 5.5 because I had to split another chapter. I had to split a chapter and then create a whole new immersion chapter to go in the middle of that. Hey. But now I'm trying to figure out how to round it out. This one shouldn't be bad. I don't know if I'm going to get it done today, but at least by tomorrow, I think. And I feel like this is the chapter that's going to tie up the end of my first third. Like all my setup, this is the normal world type stuff. Oh yeah? Slow going? Hi. Hello. Hello, Lou. Hello, Lula. My cat and dog have a weird dynamic. I show a little bit of attention to the cat, and I gotta show even more attention to the dog. She demands it. Yes, and I'll be back. I need to top off my coffee. Hi. Good morning. Ooh, too hot, too full. All right. So I feel like this whole scene needs to take place in the king's chamber because he's sick again. He collapsed again. He had another issue. I feel like this is the chapter where Parable, the doctor, is going to announce officially that it's poison, that the king has actually been poisoned. But it still strikes him as being mostly a magical malady, and that's why a solution eludes him. So, just start with the notes. Home. Mischief, my cat, is just being nuts. This is her morning time thing. I'm guessing there are leaves blowing across my patio. Rock on. It can always feel like that. This chapter will take place in the King's chamber. Yeah, that's kind of the nature of the beast. I'm constantly behind. Yep. Yeah. And I should be writing blogs for Substack and doing this and looking for a real job. Yeah. Yep. And then figuring out how to promote everything and do the marketing and try to get my book sold. All while dealing with scammers who are hitting me up on a regular basis. It's so fucking annoying. Like you think you're having a conversation with real people, and then they try to hit you up with for cash, basically. You just gotta tell them, look, if I had money, I wouldn't be writing romantasy. This chapter will take place in the King's Chamber. Nice. This is the Hinge chapter where the Doctor officially declares that the King has been poisoned. The chapter's main players. Yep. I offer myself a little time in the evening. Yeah, sleep is good. Sleep is very good. Evening is when I'll do a little bit of movie watching. Like I get in my entertainment when I'm eating. So like I have dinner and I'll pop in a flick. I think last night I watched Little Evil. It's got the dude from The Office, or one of the guys from The Office, and it's about a guy who marries a woman, and her son is the Antichrist. Like literally the Antichrist. It was okay. It's been on my watch list for a while. Jocelyn and her curse, malady, Blaine and her fussing, and Harival with his diagnosis. And I think that may be the order that I want to go into, because I think my hook for the chapter, my beat for the end, is Paravel's diagnosis at the end. And if I start with Jocelyn, then I'm dealing with the consequence of what happened a couple chapters ago. Like I've kind of got a whole Chekhov's gun thing going on right now, where Arista took the time to curse Jocelyn because Garrett made her promise not to do anything to harm his family, and she took that to mean blood relatives, not people who are married into the family. And if Jocelyn is in this scene, I feel like I have to bring Galen into this scene as well. Galen's a fun character to write. He's my bookish autistic prince. So intro. Mojo, please don't start, dude. Please don't start. Jocelyn and Galen And then I had to decide the dynamic, because everything is done from Garrett's point of view. I'm not doing any floating heads, I'm not changing point of view throughout the story, and I'm not doing any of those things where, like, you see what the villain is doing, or what another character is doing, and then you're like, when is the MC going to find out? I hate that shit. Like, I hate having that all-seeing floating eye of God when I'm watching any kind of storyline or reading anything like that. Unless it's specifically tied in. I have been thinking I really want to do something where I have chapters that switch between characters and then have a totally different writing style. Because how I write my stuff is poetic. Like, I write my stuff in line with ancient Greek epics and Milton and poetic type stuff like that, which is why I don't indent my paragraphs, and why I have so many paragraphs that will just be like 2 words. Sweet. To the POV thing, or not indenting your paragraphs? Jocelyn and Galen. Now, do I want Arista in this scene or not? Like, she doesn't need to be here. Yeah, I use a lot of poetic tricks in my stuff. Sometimes not even intending it. Like, I'll find myself rhyming and be like, yeah, it's okay. And then there's alliteration, and then there's cadence. Which is funny, I really don't care for how modern poetry is done. Like, I hate that poetry has become single phrases awkwardly spaced on a page. Like, they're just sentences with really poor grammar that are posted on Instagram or Facebook. Like, this is a poem that I wrote. Like, no, that's a sentence. You just made an observation and wrote a sentence. But then again, I'm not crazy about, rhyming in poetry and how infantile that seems, but that's all just French influence. I like Milton. I like Shakespeare. I like where cadence matters more. Oh yeah, that's fun when you write poetry through a character. When I first started playing around with ChatGPT and everyone was like, the devil is in it, it's demons talking to you, like all this crazy talk about AI and generative stuff, I was like, okay, I'm going to have it help me write a book of demonic poetry. So I use demons as logical fallacies. That's what I see them as allegories for. Like, they seem appealing, but there's something in their ethos that's just wrong. Like, it's an error, it's an aberrant, they're non sequiturs, So I started writing a book of demonic poetry that I called The Devil's Wine, because they say poetry is the devil's wine. And that was pretty fun, like writing poems that were from specific demons, and like the Ars Goetia, and biblical references and stuff like that. That was an interesting project that I never finished, which, if I got back into it, could be a decent publication. Could be something I could sell on Amazon. Mo! What are you doing, dude? See, rabbits do not have vocal cords, so they communicate by destroying shit. I gotta try and let him out today. Intro, Jocelyn and Galen visit the king. Jocelyn is thrilled to see Garrett and flirts with him openly, despite her constant itching from a rash. take that. No, you're fine. Finish your food from last night. All right. Oh. Yeah, I can check that out. Jocelyn is thrilled to see Garrett and flirts with him openly despite her constant itching from a rash. Galen. What? Sex-based terms. What? Darkness closing in like your only friend, filling the emptiness of your soul, watching you from the edge of your mind, a void of feeling, numb to the surrounding world. Your internal screams drown out the simplest of sounds. Shaking, your skin feels foreign, clawing at your layers in no use. The darkness is here to stay. Gasping with your last breath, you envision a speck of light in the distance. Fingers in the earth. Airs in the earth is highlighted for some reason, like the ers from fingers in the... Reaching out to pull yourself from the grave you've dug. With the world's weight at your back, you have only... the world's weight at your back, you have only one way to go, forward through the darkness. Interesting. Darkness closing in like your only friend, like the emptiness. It does. See, I would think clawing at your layers is no use. Cool. What's up, Kat? Galen. Is clearly upset by this, but deflects and dissociates. Yeah, you probably should. Galen is clearly upset by this, but deflects and dissociates. So do you just stay up every night? All night working on stuff? Like, do you have a night job ordinarily? Are you doing, like, overnight stock work like I used to? Or are you just a night owl by nature? I mean, I get it, it's quiet. That's part of the reason why I try to get my writing done, like, early in the morning. Galen is clearly upset with this, but deflects and dissociates with... Yeah, that's rough. Are you looking for work? I want to say random facts about mushrooms and spores. Mojo, cool it, dude. Bad Bunny. Oh. Come here. Come here. Come here, Mojo. Mojo, come here. Come here, dude. What's in here? What's in here? Come on. I got treats. There's treats in here. Go to your dig box. Go to your dig box. Here's a good boy. Oh, that wabbit. That's rough. So yeah, you're writing for survival too. So how many books do you have out, or is it just the one so far? Galen is clearly upset by this, but deflects and dissociates with random. Yeah, so you feel the same pressure of marketing and trying to get it out there too. Yeah, it's stressful. It's really, really stressful. Galen is clearly upset by this, but deflects and dissociates with random facts. Oh, that's fantastic. That's awesome. I think I've sold probably about 16 at this point. No, wait. Probably closer to 13. That's cool. That's really cool. I intentionally made mine small, so I'm only making about 275 for every copy that I sell. But the whole idea was make something small in order to suck people in. Next one, the one that I'm working on, thinking I'm probably going to charge 20 for the paperback and 10 for the the ebook, and still do KDP at least for the first, or not KDP, Kindle Unlimited for the first 90 days, which is part of the reason why I write in the poetic style that I do, so I can have whole paragraphs that will sometimes be just 2 words in order to eat up space. It's hard to figure out that where to divide it, right? When it comes to like the paperback and the ebook, like how different should the price be? Because on ebook you almost want that impulse buy, but at the same time you want, I don't know, you want something affordable when it comes to the book. But the third book in the series I'm planning on charging even more for, so I think that's where I'm saving my 25 or even like $30 price point, because I've the plot for the third book is coming along, and I'm pretty excited about that. You only make $6 for the $25 paperback. Jeez, you'd think you'd be getting more. That's brutal. Mo, please. He's just digging at the blankets in his pen. And he starts out digging, then he's chewing, then he's putting holes in it. Yeah, my rabbit is my most mischievous pet. And I have a cat named Mischief, and yet my rabbit is worse than her. But his name is Mojo, so that seems appropriate. Mojo is more mischievous than Mischief itself. Galen is clearly upset by this, but deflects and dissociates with random facts about mushrooms and spores. That feels pretty dead on. Yeah, that's pretty dead on for Galen. Like, he knows more about the current situation than he ever lets on, which is what makes him look suspicious. Alright, good night. Sleep well. Get good rest. Be prepared for another grinding night of animation and promo and plotting and everything else you gotta do. Mojo, cool it, dude. Do I need a third beat for this section? donation today. Worst thing about all these scammers and marketers and people bugging me is that pretty sure most of them are just AI that are programmed to harass people. Good morning, Riz. Mojo! Stop, dude. Stop. Shh. Mojo. Knock it off. Shh. Mojo. She's fine. She's just getting a drink. You're not concerned. Just eat your food. He's a good boy, Mo. Galen is clearly upset by this, but deflects and dissociates with random facts about mushrooms and spores. Draws on us to see Garrett for openly despite her constant itching from a rash. Okay. I don't need to try and push myself on this. For the second act, I'm just going to call this one middle because it's not really a climax. This chapter doesn't really have, I don't know if I would call it rising tension. So Blaine is there the whole time. This is where we really get to see her personality shine through. We've had snippets of it. Is that how you spell granddaughter? No, it's got two D's. Okay. Blaine fusses over the king, much to his annoyance, though he tries to remain kindly to his granddaughter. She talks up her brother mostly silent, largely because she talks over him, answers for him, and interrupts. She also casually insults Garrett. Stop. Stop. I think in this scene, I don't need Arista to be in the room. Mojo. Cool you. Come here. Oh, come here. Come here, brown boy. Hi. Hi. You frustrated? Are you pent up? You Yes, are you a movie boy? Hi. Yo. What is yo? She also casually insults Garrett and makes accusations about Arista. Now he's in his dig box. Okay. Okay, so those are three main parts of what Belaine is doing in this section. But hide it under Elaine's ramblings and gossip about other characters. Mojo. Stop. Are you upset because your litter box is too full? Or are you got ahead? Is that? So always aerated, isn't it? Alright, maybe that'll keep him busy for a moment. What time is it? Oh, it is 7 a.m., so I should feed him his breakfast. Okay, so I'm using her gossip in the same way that I used Miri's gossip in a previous chapter. People she complains about and unknowingly implicates. Arista, Miri, Sathrael, and if I follow a rule of threes, that's a good enough list, right? But then Arista and Miri are almost kind of innocent. I'm trying to decide if I wanted to complain about Corvin or Dunrick more. Corvin. Conclusion. firewalls, diagnosis. Parable enters the space while Elaine is rambling. Immediately berates the girl for her poor care and disturbing the king's rest, then proceeds to be even more careless and annoying. He concludes, it's not ruled out a magical component entirely. Which eludes his ability to find a cure. I feel like Sothrael could have a part. Says he will converse with Sothrael as much as he can. I kind of want to bring Sothrael in at this point, because we haven't heard shit from him. We've only seen him briefly in the hallway. Yeah, doing pretty good. Holla, Jenna. How you doing? So far in the book, and this is near the conclusion of the first and third of the story. I am working on a novel. Working on chapter 5.5 for my original outline, but this novel keeps kind of blowing up on me and getting emergent chapters, and every chapter that I originally outlined, which is over on my right side here, it's turning into like 2 or 3 separate chapters. And then I'm getting all these indications that I have to include other stuff. So I don't even know what chapter I'm on at this point. I'm going to figure that out in the edit. But right now I'm doing my outline. Every time before I start a new chapter, I always outline it all over again in greater detail so that I can know exactly what I'm doing, have like a map. Yeah, I actually released, it would be my second book, but it's the first book that I'm actually proud of, like earlier in January. Before that, my last publication was 8 years ago. In between there, I've started about a dozen different projects that I've never finished, because I always get to a point where I get distracted or I get caught up on a difficult part and I just, go off and do something else. But yeah, I got one book out there. I'll show you their cover. Current series that I'm working on right now is called Drowning. And the first book is The Lonely Isle. This one that I'm working on is Drowning, Rising Tide. So this one is like The Little Mermaid meets Beauty and the Beast. So romanticy and kind of a inverse dynamic. And then this one, I'm keeping the elements of Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid, but I'm combining it. This is on Amazon. It's currently on Kindle Unlimited, Kindle Direct Publishing, and you can get the paperback, which I love the paperback. I wish I would have done smaller, though, because personally, I like books that you can just slip into your pocket and take with you anywhere. This one will fit in most purses, though. So, and I did write this with women as my primary demographic, since women read more than men these days, and romanticy is the top-selling genre. So that's why I went with it. That, and I tend to write romance scenes pretty well. Unintentionally, I'd rather be writing epics. Thank you. You should check it out. Drowning, The Lonely Isle. And this next book that I'm working on, it's got the elements of Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid, but I'm incorporating aspects of The Taming of the Shrew and Sherlock Holmes murder mystery. So, yeah, it's different. And then the third book, I already have, well, I'm starting to piece it together. The plot is forming in my mind, and that's going to be a lot closer to what it is that I actually want to write, which is more epic fantasy adventure. So, this one is a novella, the first one, which is meant to snag people and hook them into the series. So it's short, easy read, designed to be done in a weekend. This one that I'm working on is a novel. And then the one after that is going to be more epic fantasy. So grander, larger scale, longer work. And really digging into the elements of what I like to deal with as a story writer. So I'm very eager to get to the third one, personally. But I don't know that I don't have a server. I know I need to get on Discord in order to build a community, although I hear Discord is currently dying with the whole age verification thing. I am on Discord. I'm Jack Dace on that as well. I'm on Instagram and everything else. I really should get a Jack Dace Facebook page since I spend so much time on Facebook. I might change my author page to Jack Dace. But yeah, you can check me out on Discord. I'm not on it much. I don't understand Discord. Everyone tells me that I should. I use it on my phone. I don't even use it on my computer. Control C on that. All right. Starting a new chapter in my book. This is where I start incorporating ChatGPT with my writing process. Starting a new chapter in my book. I do not need or want you to generate text for me. Just help with outlining, editing, checking redundancies, helping me organize with back and forth advice. Okay, well, it's misspelled organize, I guess. Yep, yes it is. Smart detection beta allowed. We'll post it to chat. Yeah. Yep, I'm Jack Dace on everything. You can even find me on PlayStation as Jack Dace. Yep, that works too. RD Gamer 0809. Alright. That's right, I did the coffee thing. Oh, damn you fat fingers. There we go. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. That's a bummer. Zephyrus Storm, her new cover. It's very nice. That's dope. That's definitely dope. So when are you going to stream? Or when next am I going to stream? Um, these days I get down to about 3 streams a day. It seems like right now my morning session is when I get up and write because the brain is still spongy and soft and I can kick out stuff. I usually do a middle of the day stream where it's just me sitting down playing PlayStation for about an hour. I do Warframe. I don't have a camera on for that, so it's just me talking into my controller. And then in the evenings, I've been doing art streams where I work on cover art and design aspect stuff. So pretty much daily. If I'm not streaming early in the morning, it's probably because the chapter that I'm working on is a little too personal. Like I didn't stream the past couple days because the last chapter that I did, I really had to dig at my own psyche and my own psychology and go into myself a little bit much in order to do that live. Yeah. And if I'm not streaming in the evening, yeah, I did. If I'm not streaming in the evening, it's because I'm tied up and I'm busy. But yeah, usually every day, about 3 times a day, usually as soon as I wake up, and it's still on the road, still starting my day. Good, this is a hinged chapter. You're doing 3 heavy structural jobs at once. Officially moving the king's illness from mystery decline to confirmed poisoning, seeding political suspicion in multiple directions, introducing visible magic instability, Jocelyn's malady to widen the scope beyond mere court intrigue. That's strong architecture. Let's break this down cleanly and tighten the mechanics. 1. Structural check. What this chapter must accomplish. I want the reader to leave this chapter with the king's been poisoned confirmed, the court is fracturing socially, Gregarious too is suspicious but not overtly. Jocelyn is not well and this may not be unrelated. Sathrael exists and is going to matter. That's a lot of weight, so the key question, what is the emotional spine of the chapter? Right now it's slightly scattered between Jocelyn flirting, Belaine rambling, Paragal diagnosing, Sathrael introduction. We need one through-line tension. I suggest the spine be decay. The king is decaying. Jocelyn's skin is inflamed and breaking. Belaine's manners are decaying. Court unity is decaying. Medicine fails. Magic must be invoked. Yeah, that's actually really good, because this is where I'm coming to the end of the first 1/3 of the book is how I'm staging this. So we've done all the establishments so far, which has been a lot of work. A lot of work. This story has got 24 characters. I feel like I've introduced close to 20 of them. I'm not sure. I feel like I need to do a checklist and see how many of the characters in the book have actually been formally introduced and who's just been mentioned. So there's, yeah. And I may have to go back in the edit and bring other characters into the story in order to raise their level of suspicion. Because this is part Sherlock Holmes mystery, and I haven't given all of my suspects appropriate time to appear suspicious. So the king is decaying. Everything should subtly reinforce deterioration. Okay. Jocelyn's malady, tighten the purpose. Right now, it risks feeling ornamental. Ask yourself, is her condition symbolic? Is it plot relevant later? Is it tied to the poison, or is it separate magical disturbance? If it's unrelated, readers may assume, oh, second mystery. Great, more threads. If it's subtly related, that's powerful. Option A, thematic parallel. Her skin irritation and mirrors something corrupt in the castle air, a magical residue, a reaction to proximity to the king. So this is a new conversation in chat. It's not aware of everything that has transpired in the story prior to this. So I have to update it on why this matters. Something corrupt in the castle air, a magical residue, a reaction to proximity to the king. Option B, magical sensitivity. Perhaps Jocelyn is reacting to poison's magical stabilizer, a ward breaking down Sathrael's unseen work, Gregarious Two's aura. If she only flirts and scratches, she becomes decorative chaos. If her body is responding to something deeper, she becomes a sensor that's stronger. Belaine section, this is where you must be precise. This section risks bloat. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she is a bloated character, period. Rambling characters are dangerous. They feel real but can balloon. You need controlled chaos, layered implication, no repetition. You wrote she should have nothing nice to say about anyone who's not immediate blood relations. Good, but watch redundancy. Complaining about 5+ people can feel like noise. Suggestion, give each complaint a distinct function. For example, Arista, too familiar with the king's private chambers. Miri, always carrying trays, always near the cups. Sathrael, that unnatural priest, meddles with herbs and fumes. Magical angle, Corvin, strange imports from foreign lands. Kaleen keeps old company after dark misdirection. Each complaint should feel like a different possible vector. Gregarious 2, hide him carefully. Right now he risks becoming silent, suspicious man while sister talks. That's obvious. Instead, give him one small, precise interruption, something medically aware, something defensive. Belaine, something oddly informed. One line can do more than pages of silence. Subtle, silent parable, watch tone consistency. You have him berating Belaine for poor care, then becomes careless himself, then privately revealing poisoning, then deferring to Sathrael. This is good, but check for the tonal contradiction. If he's arrogant, he should resist magical explanation. If he's pragmatic, he should resent needing Sathrael. If he's insecure, he should blame contamination. What is his core flaw? Make that consistent in how he handles Belaine, the king, Garrett, the magic possibility. Sathrael, introduction, time and question. You wrote this may be a good time to bring in Sathrael. Yes, it probably is, because the doctor cannot solve it. Magic must be invoked. Stakes escalate from political to arcane, but do you want Sathrael to enter physically or just be summoned at the end? Two different energies. If he enters the chapter, pros, immediate presence, new energy, strong act, break, cons, might crowd the chapter. Option 2, he is mentioned only, pros, leaves tension hanging, cleaner hinge ending, next chapter opens with him. Give this 1/3 mark. Given this is a 1/3 mark, I would suggest end on Garrett deciding to involve Sathrael. This feels like escalation, redundancy, and pacing risk check. Potential bloat zones. Jocelyn and flirting, itching, don't overdescribe the rash more than twice. Belaine rambling, give it shape and depression. Parable, explaining poison, avoid medical lecture, don't. Keep diagnosis sharp, something like evidence from vial, discoloration, metallic traces, pattern inconsistence with wasting illness, clear clinical cold. Strong chapter, shape, proposal. Here's a tightened flow. Entry, irritation, Jocelyn mission, Galen disassociating, Garrett distracted, King visibly diminished. Social decay, Belaine enters like a storm, rambling like structured accusations. Gregarious, small, subtle insertion, King exhausted. Collision, Parable enters, clashes with Belaine, examines King, notes something specific, isolation. Private moment with Garrett, poison confirmed, magical variable uncertain. Escalation, name Sathrael, decision made, chapter closes on. Jocelyn scratching under skin brights with the king coughing something unnatural, or Garrett realizing this is no longer internal politics and on unease. One critical question for you, is Jocelyn's condition a red herring, a symptom of curse, or environmental fallout? If that decision changes how much space she deserves here, you don't need text generation. But before we move forward answering this, is the poison purely political, or is it magically augmented? That determines whether this chapter is intrigue first or corruption first. Alright. To catch you up, because this is a new chat. Jocelyn is afflicted by a curse from Arista. In a previous chapter, Arista found out. Arista is a sea witch in disguise. Sathrael is the court apothecary and half dark elf. Caraval is the court physician, misspelled physician, and the two have a sort of rivalry going on. Gunrick is the captain of the guard and a dwarf. And my voice is going, yay. Miri is a cat girl maid and used to wait primarily on Elaine, mistreated her. Arista has demanded Miri's exclusive services, and Elaine is still upset by this. Do you need me to paste in significant chapters to help you understand where the plot is at the moment? Just so you can be caught up. My last chat had gotten rather long, which slows down your responses significantly. No, don't paste full chapters. That will absolutely slow things down. It isn't necessary. What you just gave me is enough to work strategically. Now we can refine this chapter properly because the curse changes everything. Right now we know Jocelyn's malady is Arista's curse, private emotional retaliatory. The king's poisoning is separate political plot. Kaling suspects Arista. Sathrael versus Paravel rivalry exists. Miri's reassignment creates social resentment. Belaine mistreated Miri. Dunrick the dwarf, military authority presence. This is a beautifully volatile chapter. This chapter is not just a hinge, it's a pressure cooker. Critical structural warning. You are stacking poison reveal, curse manifestation, political resentment, racial prejudice, court rivalries, and Arista's suspicion threat. That's fine, but only one thing is foregrounded and the others are subtext. Alright, we need already determined deterioration. Right now your outline risks equal weight chaos. We need hierarchy. What this chapter is really about. It is about authority failing. The king is dying. The physician cannot fix it. The apothecary must be called. A curse is active in the same chamber. The court is fracturing. Prejudice is surfacing. That's your spine. Everything should orbit that. Jocelyn's curse, how to use it properly. Since it's from Arista and retaliatory, this is intimate violence masquerading as illness. Key question, does Arista intend pain, humiliation, warning, control? The nature of the symptoms matters. You describe hives, blistering like sunburn, sand, and clothing field. That's almost maritime. Sand, salt irritation, sunburn without sun. That's sea-coded. Very good. Now the key. Does the curse worsen near Garrett or near Arista, or the King's Chamber specifically? If proximity influences it, readers should subconsciously connect threads. curse is meant to react to how she is around Garrett. Her flirting with him makes it worse for her. After cursing her that it is up to Jocelyn how things go. What time is it? I gotta watch the time. I'm supposed to donate plasma today because that's my primary source of revenue right now. Blaine, this is where you can be surgical. You have an incredible opportunity. Blaine hates Mary, Arista, non-humans. She resents losing Mary to Arista. She complains about demi-humans. Meanwhile, South Rail, half dark elf, Mary, cat girl, Dunrick, dwarf are all present or referenced. This lets you see prejudice while also misdirecting suspicion. For example, if Blaine implies the half-blood meddles with tinctures, the cat carries the cups, the dwarf guard's rotation has been lax. She's just gossiping, but she creates suspicion fog, and that's something I do. That's excellent narrative misdirection. Parable versus Sathrael. This rivalry is gold. Important choice. When Parable diagnoses poison, does he reluctantly admit he needs Sathrael, or frame it as Sathrael's responsibility, or subtly blame apothecary compounds? This determines whether he looks confident or insecure. If he says, "I've ruled out immoral balance," this is introduced. Strong. If he says it may be the apothecary's preparations, he looks defensive. Choose intentionally. Arista thread. Be careful. You now have Kayleen suspicion, Jocelyn cursed, poison present. Do not let readers conclude, oh, Arista did both, unless that's intentional misdirection. If Arista is already morally gray, don't overload her with proximity to both supernatural harm and poison harm unless you want heavy suspicion on her. Balance carefully. Smart placement of Sathrael. You asked earlier whether to introduce him physically. Now that I know he's half dark elf and in rivalry with Parabel, yes. Bring him physically into the room. Because Blaine can visibly recoil, prejudice becomes embodied, Parabel's tension becomes immediate, Mary's history mirrors Sathrael's outsider status, you create a social fracture tableau. That's strong. Clean chapter structure suggestion, opening, surface disorder, Jocelyn itching, flirting, Galen dissociating with mushroom facts, excellent characterization, King visibly weak. Blaine social assault, complains about Mary, Arista, unnatural blood, talks over gregarious, subtle clue planted. Medical authority enters, Parable arrives, rebukes her, examines King, notes something specific, cold clarity, fracture, Parable privately confirms poison, mentions magical irregularity, escalation, Sathrael summoned or enters, rival retention, Blaine's prejudice spikes, Jocelyn's curse flares sharply. NB, choose one, Jocelyn's skin breaks and bleeds, saltwater like fluid, Garrett realizes two separate threats are active, Kayleen watches Arista carefully, where Sathrael and Parable exchange a loaded line, end on unease. If is Arista aware she's being suspected by Kayleen at this point? Because if she is, her behavior in this chamber should be calculated. If she isn't, she might be overconfident and change the subtext. Final answer to your question, no, don't paste chapters. Instead, give me clarification given. 3 to 5 bullet summary of relevant scene. Who knows what, who suspects what the reader knows versus what the characters know. That's efficient and keeps things sharp. You've got a strong hinge chapter here. Now the key is not adding more threads, it's tightening the ones we already have. Do you feel it's weakest right now? Jocelyn's cursed execution, Blaine's ramblings, or poison reveal timing. I don't feel like anything is weak. Arista will not be present in this chapter, though she is the female lead. She dominates every scene. Too much. Too easily. The entire story is from Garrett's perspective, and I hate floating heads and eyes. The reader will never be given information that he isn't given, but may notice things he does not. Kayleen is also not present. Has made comments and warnings about Arista. Almost thinking of having Sothrail in the room before anyone notices, because he is so casually adept at subtlety. Arista is morally gray. I want her to always carry an aura of suspicion. So even at the end of the book, the reader might wonder, perhaps only in the back of their mind, if Arista wasn't pulling the strings the entire time. Good. Now we're operating on something sharp. You've made three very strong decisions. Curse reacts to Jocelyn's behavior on Garrett. Arista absent from the scene. Garrett POV locked. No floating omniscience. That's clean storytelling discipline. Let's refine the mechanics. The curse has behavioral feedback. This is excellent because it does three things at once. Punishes flirtation without Arista needing to be present. Forces Garrett into uncomfortable proximity. Creates visible cause and effect readers can track before Garrett does. The key is calibration. If Jocelyn flirts lightly, mild itching. Touches him, flare. Pushes intimacy, blistering worsens. That creates physical morality meter. But be careful. You do not want it to feel like jealous witch punishes rival. You want it to feel like the sea rejects contamination. Make the curse feel elemental, not petty. Sand and clothes, salt burn, heat without flame. That makes it mythic instead of catty. It can be mildly catty. Arista's absence is power. You're correct to not include her. When a dominant character is removed from the room, their absence becomes presence. If Jocelyn flares near Garrett, Elaine complains about Arista, someone mentions Miri now serving Arista, the king is poisoned, readers will subconsciously triangulate, and Garrett won't. That's perfect dramatic irony. Sathrael already in the room. This is a very strong idea. If he is quiet, already examining herbs, standing in shadow or near a window, and someone suddenly realizes, oh, you're here, that he establishes him as observant, underestimated, comfortable in invisibility. It also visually contrasts Elaine's loudness. He doesn't enter, he is simply there. That's elegant characterization. Paravel versus Sathrael make it subtle. Don't make them bicker overtly. Instead, Paravel announces poisoning. Sathrael says nothing at first. Maybe he corrects one small detail. Yes. Hell yes. Or asks one precise question. Or both. Restraint is power, especially if Elaine is already filling the air with noise. Very important to distinguish curse versus poison visually. You absolutely must differentiate symptom language. If both the king and Jocelyn show skin issues, blistering, and weakness, readers will conflate threads. So, king's poison symptoms: pallor, internal deterioration, metallic taste, tremor, subtle discoloration, breath weakening. Jocelyn's curse: surface irritation, heat, salt skin, visible skin inflammation, behavioral trigger. Make one internal decay, make one external irritation, separate textures. Absolutely. Arista as perpetual suspect. This is good long-game strategy. To preserve that ambiguity, let Elaine imply Arista's proximity to the king. Let someone note Arista's knowledge of herbs. Let Jocelyn's curse flare in the same chamber. Let Sathrael's half-dark elf status add further magical ambiguity. Do not clear Arista too cleanly. Do not condemn her too obviously. Keep her in probabilistic space. One structural suggestion: because the curse reacts to flirting, Garrett should initially interpret Jocelyn's discomfort as nerves, ill-fitting gown, heat of the room, stress. He should not suspect magic immediately. Let the reader see the pattern before he does. That makes them feel smarter than the POV character, which increases engagement. Trial foreshadowing. Since you plan a trial later where Arista is primary suspect, you should plant at least one line in this chapter that will echo in court. For example, someone noting Arista was alone with the king recently, someone noting Miri carries drinks exclusively now, or Paravel saying this poison required knowledge. That line will return later. This poison required knowledge. That will let me see Galen. At the beginning of the chapter, I'm going to copy paste that. It actually lets me implicate two characters at once. Mojo! Stop. Mojo. Knock it off, dude. Okay, clean chapter flow, refined. Jocelyn flourish, rash, so Lane dominates the air, complains about non-humans, mentions arrested, needs suspicion, gregarious, gets one controlled line. Do you want this chapter to feel tense and restrained or loud and socially chaotic? Probably socially chaotic, because the last chapter was intimate and philosophical. Whether or not he should be the king instead of his brother Garth, Elaine's father. Is part philosophy, sexual tension, unresolved. Mental depth. This chapter should feel almost silly by comparison, and Jocelyn, Elaine, Galen, and Perival are all my most ridiculous characters. Oh, good. Then lean into it. If the previous chapter was intimate, philosophical, and charged, heavy with destiny and erotic tension, this one absolutely should feel socially chaotic and slightly absurd. That contrast will make the poison reveal hit harder. You don't want solemn. You want depth, noise, knife. Embrace controlled ridiculousness. You've identified your chaos agents. Jocelyn, curse, flirt, chaos. Elaine, gossip, aristocrat, chaos. Galen, fungal disassociation, chaos. Parable, self-important, medical chaos, perfect. The key word is controlled. Let the room feel loud and slightly absurd, while underneath it something very real is rotting. That tonal dissonance is powerful. Use Jocelyn for physical comedy, but with teeth. Since the curse reacts to flirting, you can let her laugh too brightly, touch Garrett's sleeve, lean too closely, scratch mid-sentence, pretend nothing is wrong. And the worse she performs, the worse it gets. That's something darkly funny. Yay! Keep the symptoms escalating in a way that makes readers uncomfortable. Comedy sliding into body horror is delicious when controlled. Galen is your pressure valve. Galen talking about mushrooms and spores while the king is dying, Blaine is gossiping, Jocelyn is blistering, Parable is diagnosed with poison. That's beautiful tonal absurdity. Let his facts unintentionally mirror the poisoning, reference fungal parasitism, or talk about how spores spread invisibly. He doesn't know he's thematically on point. Readers will. That's smart layering. Mo! Dude, he's just frustrated. I need to let him out. I don't know, I gotta find time to let him out. Elaine should be almost operatic. Mojo, stop, dude. If you're going socially chaotic, let her escalate. Start with, oh, grandfather, you look pale. Moves you ever since that woman came. Then to, I've always said it was improper to have beast in her hall. Let her ramble in increasing circles, but shape it. Each ramble should hit a different target, plant a different suspicion, reveal her insecurity. She is ridiculous, but she is also politically dangerous. That duality is important. Mojo, stop. Oh, you little shithead. Stop. Stop. Just stop. We'll deal with you later. Don't shake your head at me. You made me think. Parable has grandiose authority. He should enter like the adults have arrived, and then immediately be annoyed, be pompous, be precise, be theatrically offended. Then drop the bomb. Poison. The moment should cut through the chaos. The room freezes. That's your hinge. Chaos to silence. Southrail already there. If you do this, let someone only notice it when Parable mentions needing apothecary information. Then a quiet voice said something. That would be me. No fanfare, no dramatic entrance. He was just present, as elegant and faintly unsettling. Blaine recoils, Parable bristles, Garrett recalibrates. You just introduce a character with gravity without noise, which is awesome because that makes him an exact contrast to Parable. Like, you can't miss Parable when he enters a room because he's just such he's like a one-man band. Whereas Sophrale is Mr. Subtlety, sneak, and talks in very low, measured tones and is annoyingly slow in how he addresses everything. You want characters to laugh or feel uncomfortable laughing. There should be a cathartic relief over the last chapter on the initial read. So laughter, but if read for the second time, a more uncomfortable laughter, as they have more intimate knowledge of the fallout. Perfect. That's sophisticated tonal layering. You know, first read, relief, laughter, what a mess. Second read, oh, this was already rotting. That means you need surface comedy with structural precision underneath. Let's tune it. How to engineer two-tier laughter. To make something funny now but ominous later, you need exaggeration on the surface, accuracy underneath. Yeah. If it's pure absurdity, rereads don't deepen. If it's too pointed, readers won't laugh the first time. You need comedic misdirection. Absolutely. Jocelyn, make it funny first, inevitable later. On the first read, she flirts badly, she scratches at awkward times, she insists she's fine. Garrett is mildly uncomfortable. Readers laugh at social awkwardness, overcommitment, the itch timing. On reread, they realize every escalation was triggered by proximity. They realize Arista said it's up to her. They see the curse's rules in motion. That's elegant. Tip, don't over-explain her discomfort. Just show escalation patterns. Let readers solve it on pass 2. Galen, accidental prophecy machine. Galen is your stealth device. On his first read, he's absurd, mushroom facts during crisis, comic relief. On second read, his spore commentary mirrors poison spreading invisibly, decay under the surface, parasitism, and contamination. If one of his facts directly parallels the poison mechanism, readers will feel clever when they catch it later. Just one, don't underline it. Elaine, weaponized comedy. She must be absurd, loud, unself-aware. But her prejudice must be real enough to sting. First read, she's ridiculous and dramatic. Second read, her xenophobia. Politically isolates key players. Prepares ground for trial blame. Fuels mob suspicion. Comedy becomes foreshadowing. That's how you get uncomfortable laughter later. The poison reveal, the needle drop, the moment must puncture the comedy. Structure it like noise, 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 medical irritation, noise, bickering, then terrible, clinical, precise, cold. Your father has been poisoned, rude still. The reader laughs up until that line, then they don't. The tonal whiplash is cathartic. Sophrale's quiet power. He's already in the room unnoticed. On first read, oh, that's clever. On second read, he sees everything. He was there the whole time. He becomes unsettlingly unsettling retroactively. Don't make him ominous, make him composed. Stillness reads louder in hindsight. The king is anchored. Keep him quiet. On first read, he's tired background. On second read, he was observing the fracture. He heard Elaine. He heard prejudice. He watched Garrett. Silence becomes tragic in retrospect. One craft trick, guaranteed depth on reread. Plant one line that reads like comedy but is actually thesis. For example, conceptually not text. Someone says, is always the one closest to the cup. First read, joke. Second read, oh, or decay starts where you least expect. Decay is a great theme. Um, Decay is the central theme and spine of this chapter. Every ridiculous character should escalate something specific. Um, okay. Garth should be Garth should be Garrett's first concern. He is next in line for the throne and speaks as though it should already be his. Garrett is concerned but unwilling to accuse his brother. Garrett is very Hamlet-like in his internal deliberation and choice in restraint. That was the main theme and pivot of the last chapter. Excellent how everything locks into place. This chapter is not about Arista's suspicion yet. It's about Garrett's restraint being tested in real time. Last chapter, philosophical debate about kingship. This chapter, the throne is suddenly one heartbeat away from changing hands. That's powerful contrast. The real hinge. The hinge isn't just the king is poisoned. It's this. If the king dies, Garth becomes king, and Garth already speaks like he owns it. That should tighten Garrett's internal world immediately. Not accusation, not certainty, but possibility. Hamlet energy is perfect here. How this plays into socially chaotic chapter. The room is ridiculous. Jocelyn is itching. Elaine is rambling. Galen talking about spores. Parable offended by oxygen itself and poison. And suddenly every loud personality becomes suspect. But Garrett doesn't accuse. He observes. He weighs. He restrains. That restraint is your through line. Garrett's internal structure in this chapter, because we're locked in his POV, his reactions should escalate like mild annoyance and chaos, embarrassment at Jocelyn, irritation at Elaine, Curiosity at Parabol's tone shift, shock at poison confirmation, immediate mental flicker to Garth, immediate suppression of that suspicion. That suppression is key. Is Garth in the room? If not, the absent becomes suspicious by default. If yes, watch his tone carefully. If he says, Father has suffered long enough, the line could be his concern, or if patience, ambiguity is power. The comedy makes it stronger because the chapter is socially chaotic. Poison revealed. I'll put this down at the end. Comedy makes it stronger because the chapter is socially chaotic. The poison reveal will feel almost absurd at first, which mirrors Garrett's internal disbelief. He shouldn't go into detective mode instantly. He should feel destabilized because if the king dies, everything Arista said becomes real, and he does not want that. Parabol's the line that matters. When Parabol confirms poison, have him say something that implies intent, not accident, not illness, intent. Something like this was administered. That word changes everything. Garrett hears not fate, not decay, choice, and then he thinks Garth, and then he thinks refuse to accuse. That's Hamlet's restraint. Since he wants secondly discomfort, Elaine praising her father, Garth, while the king lies poisoned. Poison is declared, Garth is next in line. On the first read, it's annoying daughter behavior. On second read, it's premature coronation energy. That's delicious. Yes. Since I'm distilling this down as to what I really want, like going back and forth with ChatGPT on it, um, one structural suggestion: when the poison is confirmed, do not let Garrett speak immediately. Let him observe others first. Who looks shocked, who looks calculating, who looks pleased, who looks afraid. Hamlet observes before acting. Let him watch. That keeps him consistent. Big picture, last chapter, should I be king? This chapter, if he dies, I may have to be. And that possibility terrifies him more than poison does. That's your emotional undercurrent. And here's the key craft question. When Garrett thinks of Garth, does he feel fear of him or sorrow for him? He feels hurt that his brother might have done something like this. That's the correct emotional choice, not fear, not suspicion, hurt. That keeps Garrett noble and tragic instead of paranoid. Now he can sharpen this chaotic. Precisely. Garrett's emotional arc in the scene, mild irritation at the circus, embarrassment over Jocelyn, detached observation of Elaine's praise, hurt, immediacy, self-rebuke. at the point where it's telling me I've got 3 messages remaining for this version, and then it'll give me a dumbed-down version, which is an indication that I've used ChatGPT plenty this morning. Also an indication good time for me to take a break. So that's over 2 hours of work just working on the setup for this chapter, but I feel like I've got a very solid outline composed now. It's about 5 pages, 877 words. That's plenty for me to write this circus scene of a chapter, because that's really what it is. It's comedic, it's comedy on the surface, a lot of structural undertones underneath, and then sort of like a stab at the end for the reader to just sort of like snap them out of all the ridiculousness of what's going on in this chapter. So, good setup. Really good setup. I think I'm going to be ready to write this. I don't know if I'm going to get anything done today. I got stuff going on. We'll see what my evening time looks like. But I'm going to sign off. Let's close that. Let's get out of Twitch. And shut down OBS. So, thank you, anybody who's been watching, commentating, stuff like that. This has been a pretty decent writing session this morning. You see how I use ChatGPT in order to take a small breakdown of how I want the chapter, and then just keep building points and asking it questions and going back and forth with it in order to get it crafted into something and to highlight things that I need to pay attention to. So that when I actually sit down and do the draft, which will be tomorrow, I really want to try and get this done tomorrow. For the first book, I was doing about a chapter a day. I would like to get back into that, while at the same time trying to actually balance life. So, I will be back later. Probably get in my hour of gameplay just for Twitch. If you're on Kick or YouTube, you're not going to see that. That's just something I do through the PlayStation. And it's lets me stream one thing because I'm not paying for multi-streaming. And then I will probably be back on later tonight to do some painting. I think I'm going to start working on the values of skin tones. So that will be a thing. That'll be interesting. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to do that or play around with the layer blur effect on some of the hair that I've done so far in order to make that like pop and get that done. Because I wanted to do the hair first, because where the hair falls and lays will directly affect how the shadowing works. So, I'll be back. Peace out.